plead innocent of all charges.
Talk about the good times with Talking Elvis.
Hello out there in podcast land. It's Talking Elvis. And do you know, this is really episode 19.
What we did last week, we decided to lure you in to spot the deliberate mistake, didn't we?
It was all down to time travel. We didn't know what episode we were doing.
We got the flux capacitor the wrong way round, didn't we?
That's it. It was just like that bit where Biff steals it and he just bangs and leaves half of his cane in. It all went very wrong.
Yes.
It all looked very familiar.
So this is officially number 19, not last week.
Welcome to episode 19 of Talking Elvis. I'm Vince Wright.
And I'm Ian Gray.
And we really are episode 19.
Yes, and well done if you did spot the deliberate mistake. Well, you can look out for more deliberate mistakes sometime. We're not going to tell you when.
Yeah, about every 20 seconds, if my is that usual. Right, so let's have a look. Thank you, Facebook land. You've all been sending some nice news and views in there. We've got a few ideas for some new shows. So that looks good. What's in the Elvis news in your world, Ian?
Not a lot going on, really, is there at the moment? As we know, Graceland has reopened, and they've got various things that we touched on that last week. I decided after we talked briefly last week about the official Elvis fan club of Great Britain magazine dropping through the door box last week. I decided to have a look at Elvis, the man and his music, and I've actually subscribed to that magazine now. So,
could you say that you bought that because of listening to an episode of Talking Elvis?
100%.
You have been inspired by a podcast?
I have, yes, I have.
Right, I'm ringing up Trevor at Man and His Music. You owe me a tenner. Right, there we go.
And I decided to visit his shop on there as well, the Now Dig This site. I bought myself a Follow That Dream. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, actually, because I've never read it. I know it comes from Now Dig This magazine, which is a nostalgic view of the music back in the 60s,
it's a good mag. It's a good mag all the way around. I'm saying mine should be due dropping through the door any minute now as we record this, because I've seen that some people have started receiving it. So I'm hoping this afternoon that might be there. Yeah, that's the news, isn't it?
Pretty much. Yeah, nothing much going on. It's as you were, really, isn't it? But you know what? That's not a bad thing. We don't need something to happen dramatic every week, do we?
Now, it would be nice to have a little bit of random new footage or something, but that's a bit of a fantasy these days, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. And I've started listening, watching the Elvis movies, and I'm going to start doing them in chronological order and start making notes of them, so it sounds like as if I know what I'm talking about when we're talking about the movies.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, everything all right in Radioland for you?
Yeah, we're all good. Yes. Last week's episode featured me and thee doing the Fun in Acapulco as movie of the week, which was quite fun. We enjoyed that. So we've got a little trip to paradise coming up this Wednesday in a day or two's time. So yes, Elvis in Cambridge on Cam FM going very nicely. Thank you very much. All good fun.
Right. So shall we get on with the show?
Let's go and watch some telly.
A little more conversation with talkingelvis.co.uk.
Right then, so we're watching a lot of television at the moment, aren't we? Well, I am. I don't know about you.
Yes. Well, that's all there is to do, isn't it?
So why don't we talk about television?
You've got your Netflix, your Disney Plus, your Sky movies, your everything else, and I'm still there going to watch Dad's Army.
Yeah, I know. I'm going back to Only Fools and Horses and Heidi High. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But yeah, Elvis was exposed to the nation, wasn't he, on television back in the 50s, and there wasn't, even in America, there wasn't much else to watch apart from 2 or 3 channels back then. You had ABC, NBC, CBS, and you had, that was it, wasn't it? A bit like
ICBM, UCBM
and
too.
ICBM too, and all those channels as well. No, they came along in the 60s. So huge audiences, and considering you got a country of about 300+ million there,
and I think this is Colonel, isn't it? This is the Colonel. The Colonel used telly perfectly.
He really did.
And the iconic times of the TV shows that we'll be looking at in a minute, he used them at the right time. I mean, we knock him, and I'm always good to beat up a colonel, but he used telly so well, didn't he?
In the 50s, credit where it is due for the Colonel. Yeah, he was a master promoter, the like of which the world had probably not seen.
Yeah.
Quite honest. When it came to an individual,
60s and 70s, the time it came was just bang on. And I think that's why we should be doing today in our great top fives, we should be doing the Elvis top 5 TV moments.
Yeah.
Right.
Because...
So this is not top 5 TV shows. We want the TV moments, don't we?
Indeed, yes. And it could be Elvis talking, it could be Elvis singing, it could be Elvis standing there doing nothing. As long as it was on television.
I'll buy that Blu-ray. Yes.
I've got any sort of bonus material on it. It's Elvis standing over in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, look how excited we were when we had boing, boing, boing. Oh.
I know, ridiculous, isn't it? Brilliant stuff. So yeah, and again, it's this is going to differ probably to your top television moments, dear listener, because it's all about opinion, and these are not necessarily the best top fives, or from my point of view anyway, it's going to be a favourite top 5. So yours is going to differ probably vastly greatly to ours. So
well, this is the thing, isn't it? You're saying favourite because I looked at this. Do you do favourite? Do you do critically acclaimed? Do you do memorable? Do you do iconic?
I know.
And what have you gone for? And I've gone for I haven't done any science this week. I've gone gut all the way.
Good.
But I think I've gone memorable, iconic more than favourite.
I have stuck a couple of iconics in there, to be honest with you, because you've got to realise that, well, this was a point in history of Elvis, or a point in history of music, or a point in history of television in general when this happened. So you've got to acknowledge that as well. Yeah,
I think that's important. So I think we've got plenty to go at. My usual also ran list is 73 pages long.
Yeah, likewise. I've got one or two here I've got one or two surprises here that just I had to make a decision and I let them go, and they may surprise you. So
I think that's the thing. 5 is a ridiculous number for this, because I could have done all 5 from just the 50s easily.
I know. Oh yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I think then the criteria is there. Then it's a TV show. No, it's a TV moment from within Elvis's life. So we're not going to talk about things. We're not going to talk about The Searcher.
No,
because that's too big, too modern. So it's TV in time, right? So I'm really excited about this one because it's brought a lot of things up to the front for me. How do you want to play this? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to. Yeah, shall we go for this?
Hi, this is Matt Shepherd, the author of Elvis Presley Stories Behind the Song. And like you, I'm delighted to be listening to Vince and Ian on Talking Elvis, the podcast.
Number 5.
Okay, we're going to go. I'm going to skip the 50s and go straight to 1960 and the Frank Sinatra show. Welcome home, Elvis.
Yeah.
And that moment where Elvis didn't sing with Frank Sinatra, I'm not going for that moment, but just before that, he sang Fame and Fortune and Stuck on You immediately, one after another. There was no break, there was no commercial break or anything. He just went straight into Stuck on You after doing Fame and Fortune. And I'm going to go for that moment as number 5 because...
You're calling that is one moment?
I am, yeah. Because
that's fair enough.
It was the same scene, if you like, almost, because I did look at it a couple of times and there was no break in it, and he just went straight into it, finished one song and went straight into the other. And this was a huge moment because it got back Elvis back on the television after 3 years of being away from the television, 2 years.
Yeah, this is the Colonel using it right, isn't it? He's using telly again. He's going, hang on, mate, coming out of the army. How can we get him everywhere?
And who was the biggest name
Yeah.
about in 1960 as well? So Frank Sinatra also was grateful of the boost to his television ratings because he was having a bit of a hard time there. But the show itself is very ordinary, isn't it? You know, it's cringe-worthy, isn't it? With those
It's exactly
that,
of its time. Their
oh
formula, aren't they? The guests, the comedy
yeah,
skits.
yeah,
You've got the pretty girl, a big singer, a comedy actor sort of guy who would be there. Um, Sponsored by. I always remember it was sponsored by Timex, wasn't it?
yes, indeed, yeah.
Did you see the dolphin advert with it? Yeah, I just remember Ian Bailey showing that years ago. Uh,
And of course, it was filmed in Miami at the Fontainebleau Hotel, which is also the scene for Goldfinger, isn't it? The James Bond movie.
oh, yeah,
Where where
excellent,
James
yeah.
Bond first met was it what's her name, Jill Masterson, and she turned into gold, didn't she? Because
Yeah.
well, Sean Connery saw the fella cheating at cards from these hotel rooms. That was all good fun. So yes, from the same place.
That's good then. So, I've got to admit here, no lie, my number 5 is Stuck on You.
Oh,
Right.
from
That
that same
show.
show. Oh,
Yeah.
well,
But
okay.
just
Yep.
the Stuck on You bit. And
Okay.
and everything you've said, I agree 100%. The only reason I said the Stuck on You bit was, and I wish I was there at the time, he comes on, he's come out of the army, is he tame? He does Fame and Fortune.
Yes.
And you think, oh, we're going to have that world of it's now or never, are you lonesome tonights, and that's it. And then he goes, wallop, Stuck on You, and he's everywhere, isn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you go, 4 years before, if he wiggled, it was up, shoot from the waist up. And now in this point, we're still on family viewing, but it's in all its glory. Just go for it, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great performance. Yeah, it really is. It shows Elvis
Yeah.
just really sort of relaxing and loosening up, isn't it?
It is.
I went for the Fame and Fortune moment tagged onto that as well because he performed it flawlessly.
Yeah.
And
no,
that's
I think it works.
That's what I liked about it.
That's where a moment's got to be your moment, hasn't it? Because it is. I know that my number 4 is a tiny weeny moment, like you said, standing up the corner. But these are so good. But it was that, isn't it? It's the TV show. It's getting him back. His records are going to sell a squillion.
Yep.
But Stuck on You for me was. Could he have recorded Stuck on You in 58, 59? Could have done, couldn't he?
Absolutely could have, yes. Yeah.
So it's like it's still rock and roll, and it's that I'm doing rock and roll, but I'm still doing Fame and Fortune. So I'm the best of both worlds. It's the two worlds of the last heartthrob and the current heartthrob, isn't it? Sinatra and him.
Indeed.
So there's a whole weird thing going on there. Love it.
And
Great call.
it's really funny as well because they said, well, I don't know, this show was about an hour long or something like. Elvis was on it for 6 or 7 minutes, wasn't he?
Yeah. There's
and
probably
he got paid 50 grand for it or whatever it was.
and they talk about him and all the other scenes and other singers doing stuff.
Yeah,
I've never timed it, but there's probably more chat about him than him, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's good. It's good to have. The quality's not great, which is a shame compared to even shows from '56. But we've got it, and it's two massive, great big icons, two of the biggest musical icons the world has ever seen, standing next to each other, performing a duet. Yes.
Why for you didn't the duet or It's Nice to Go Travelling make it into the list?
It's Nice to Go Travelling was awful, cheesy.
But as a TV moment, is it the best cheesy TV moment?
Well, it could be. It could absolutely be. Yes, indeed. And the actual duet as well. Although it's amazing to have Sinatra and Presley performing together in that moment. I was concentrated on the Elvis aspect of that. Stuck on You, Fame and Fortune instead.
Yeah, because is it me? I mean, I love the Sinatra bit where he goes, we work in the same way, only in different areas. Good line, love that. Yeah. But does Elvis look bored singing Witchcraft?
Oh God, yeah. It's something that he rehearsed literally 5 minutes before he walked onto the stage.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And because there was obviously no arrangement with the orchestra, was it? Because it was the Nelson Riddle, so it was Frank Sinatra's orchestra, and there was absolutely no arrangement there because the pitch that Elvis had to sing in was completely not what he was about at that time.
It is just turn up and do it.
He couldn't really perform it properly.
It looks cue card red. For that, for me, is a weakest point of that show. Even weaker than It's Nice to Go Travelling.
Absolutely, yeah, it could be. I mean that the lovely bit where they harmonise on the line of "Love Me Tender" is fantastic. And you think, well, why couldn't the previous minute and a half been like that? Rather than this. But that was Sinatra all over. He was all about the showbiz, wasn't he? So. And he probably gave Elvis quite a few pointers about how he should go, especially when it came to his return to live performances in the late 60s, early 70s.
As well as saying, "Hands off me daughter."
Something like that,
yeah. Because you wouldn't cross Frank, would you? And if he says, "Leave my daughter alone," he knows, folks, doesn't he?
Certainly does, yeah. Chairman of the board, as they say.
Absolutely. Good call. Number 5.
Yes.
Can't believe we've agreed on that.
Yeah.
Because it was a bit higher in my list at one point, and then it's been moved around. But number 5, Stuck on You and or with Fame and Fortune. Whew, number 5. What's your number 4?
Right then, number 4. Now I am going delving into the 50s now. And there are one or two. I won't go too much into the other ones at the moment. We'll do those as also rounds in a minute. But his first appearance with Milton Berle in April 1956. Now that was on board the aircraft carrier, wasn't it? USS Hancock. So it was an outside live show, and it's just before Elvis performed Blue Suede Shoes. He introduced Milton Berle as his twin brother Melvyn.
Melvyn, yeah.
And you know what? I mean, and for the next 3 or 4 minutes before they went into Blue Suede Shoes, it's comedy gold because it's Elvis really relaxed, really enjoying himself.
Yeah.
Milton Berle managed to relax him by saying, "Come on, let's just go and be silly here."
Yeah.
And they both of them on occasion have one line each which they both mess up.
Yeah.
But they both laugh about it on stage.
Yeah, it is good. And his guitar just falls apart, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. and it's pure tomfoolery, but you can see Elvis is very relaxed with this man. I mean, then he went on to do a further show with him, which we may or may not talk about in the fullness of time. But this first one with when he introduced him as his twin brother, Melvyn, which was really, really funny, and I'm going for that one. Elvis was dressed in black. He was looking great, and like I say, he just looked relaxed, and he looked happy to be horsing around with Milton Berle here. So we've had him doing Blue Suede Shoes. That's the moment in that performance of Blue Suede Shoes as well, where Bill Black sat astride his double bass and slapped it like that, which we have seen a lot of acts do, rock and roll acts do subsequently.
Oh God, yeah. I think that's right, isn't it? It's like the Heartbreak Hotel version on that show, where he's not in the studio, he's on the ship.
Yeah.
And I just think of, he'd been playing on the back of a truck or the blooming parking lot of a chemist or wherever he was playing in 54, 55. Yeah. And it looked outdoorsy. And it's quite a nostalgia thing. But I think that's, for me, is the better of the two Berle shows.
Yeah.
I do like that. I do like that one. And he sings Blue Suede Shoes and the reprise with that. Yeah. Comedy Gold. I haven't put that in mine, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
But I think as a TV moment, you bang on. Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching it. I mean, when I was doing research for this, as you did as well, I sat and watched a ton of film of all these TV appearances trying to get this down. And I sat there and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I forgot what I was watching it for.
But you know what creeps me out about the whole of that the only one, and I think this probably lost me points in my head for not doing it.
Mm.
How creepy was that Elvis talking about his twin brother?
That's as soon as he introduced him as my twin brother, I thought, oh crikey, that's a bit shaky.
Yeah, it just gives you a bit of a kick in the whatsits, doesn't it, at that bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just thought, and I think that kind of uneasy, but you're right, he's not at all uneasy with it. He is. Come on, I'm up for the cup here, aren't we?
Yeah, him and Milton Berle obviously had some sort of connection or rapport, didn't they? I think Milton Berle sort of was more the entertainer rather than the serious talk show host, wasn't he?
Well, that's it. You look at Sullivan, Steve Allen, and Burl.
Mm.
Yeah, he is the one you want down the boozer.
He was the lighter one, wasn't he?
Yeah, you're gonna have a laugh with him down the boozer.
Yeah.
Excellent call.
So yeah, number 4 for me, Elvis on the Yushinko as
The Yushinko.
as Milton Berle called it, the
I love
USS
that
Hancock. Right then, come on, what's yours? What's number 4? Vince Wright, number 4.
My number 4. My number 4 is a tiny bit, tiny bit. I'm going Aloha, right? So I'm going 73 TV show. Now, for a while doing this, I did not have a specific moment from Aloha I wanted to put in.
Yeah.
And it was only after I came across something else that I thought, in my iconic head, what do I want to do here? Because as a TV show, yeah, it's iconic, the whole thing, lovely. But as an iconic moment, like your Milton Berle comedy skit, the bit that Aloha stands out for me is, I mean, I think it's pretty average. I think it's downbeat music. It's the greatest hits. It missed out on what the TV show could have been. But my favourite bit, sadly, is the end. Can't help falling in love with the cape, the whole cape business, pinning the cape on, the spinning around, holding that cape right out, and then going off, and the band's still playing, and the girlies are still clapping their hands and wiggling, and that bit for me, more than that's the way it is, more than on tour, that is Elvis in the 70s. That is just, that's it. Every ETA thing does that. The manual for how to be an ETA, hello from Hawaii, and it's that bit, the down on the knee, the cape up and everything, and he's in front of the world doing it there, and then we end up having to watch Fred down the Red Lion do it.
It's funny with the Aloha. I mean, there was a couple of moments of Aloha which didn't quite make it into my top 5, but I took them out because you had to take something out.
Yeah.
With Aloha, you say the beginning, the end of it. I like the beginning because I love that feeling that's the band strikes up and all of a sudden there's a spotlight on a guy walking down the stairs onto the stage and the hairs on the back of your neck go up.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, look at that for an entrance, it's just like, and it's just wonderful. It's brilliant, it's but yeah, I get it for the end because it's look at the crowd, the music, the whole thing is huge, isn't it? And
I think the lovely bit for me is the stage set, because it's a TV show, is loopily, it's just OTT times 10, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you go and look at him playing the Alabama Symphony Hall, or the recreational gardens in Boston, or whatever he was playing. There's no set, is there? It's a stage. They chuck the band on, and you see these lovely photos, and the audience is 2 foot away, and it's a bit of a grotty hole, isn't it? So this is.
If you look at that, yeah, it really is. If you look at that concert from 1973, that's what you get when you go to a concert these days.
Yeah, it's ahead of its time.
It was, yeah. And like you say, when he's doing these other places, it's like you're lucky if you get a curtain at the back as a backdrop.
That's it.
Yeah, the rest of it, if you have the right seat, you could probably see out into the parking lot out the back.
And even when you watch in concert 77, the stage is the same, isn't it? It's a bog standard. The band comes in. They could be setting up for Zeppelin or anybody, couldn't they? Then. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so
that's good. I will bring up on my favourite bits about the Aloha cape. All the way through, looking at this bit about the cape.
Yeah.
All I could hear in my head was Incredibles, knock-capes. Yeah. Have you seen that? Have you seen it where she designs the superhero costumes and she just goes knock-capes? Yeah.
I don't remember that line, but
Edna. Edna's
the I know who she is, but I don't remember the line.
Edna's great. Knock-capes. And then they tell the whole story about how all these different superheroes got their capes caught in elevator shafts and aircraft sucked in jet engines, and it's no capes. So all I can hear is Edna from Incredibles going no capes.
and it's amazing to be able to see that whole Aloha suit and the cape in an exhibition as well, isn't it?
This is great now, isn't it? It's an archaeological dig, isn't it?
Yeah, because I saw it first when I went to Graceland a few years ago, but then it came to the O2, didn't it? That suit
came to London,
and it was one of those, because the suit the exhibition was there for what, 3 or 4 months, something like that, and they kept changing the main single star attraction.
Yeah,
but the Aloha suit was one of those attractions, wasn't it?
Oh, I loved it.
And it was there for like a month or something. Then it turned up in the jumpsuit exhibition as well.
Yes,
right on our own doorstep. So it's and you look at it and you think, wow. And everything about Aloha is just wow, to be honest with you. And like I said, that feeling that you get when he's prancing about the stage and whatnot towards the end of the show, when as you describe it there as your moment. Superb, great choice.
I do think it's a weak show, which is a real shame. I think the music, you needed a bit more oomph. But there was
2 or 3 performances within the show, wasn't it? Which you think, whoa, that's pretty amazing. But the rest of it pretty much was middle of the road stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that's my number 4.
This is Henrik Knudsen from the Memphis Mansion in Randers, Denmark, and you are listening to the Talking Elvis podcast.
Go on then, number 3.
Okay, Ed Sullivan Show, which won the final one in 1957, January 57, and there was 2 songs I could have chosen from this, but I've gone for Peace in the Valley.
Yeah, it got to be.
Because this is the world's biggest star at the time, and what's going to be his final record? What's going to be his final performance as an individual song before he goes off to film "Loving You" or "Running Wild," as Ed Sullivan called it. You'd think it's going to go out and "Don't Be Cruel," your Heartbreak Hotel, whatever. But no, it goes out with "Peace in the Valley," which he hadn't even recorded in the studio.
That's great.
And it's remarkable. It's remarkable that the rock and roll superstar goes and does a gospel track on national television. It doesn't. The enormity of that, to me, it's just like, whoa, this is a guy in control here.
But don't you think that at the time, if you didn't know anything more than the fanzines, you'd be going, why are they trying to tame him?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because he's a rocker. Why are we doing this? Not knowing that he goes, he knows the words to every gospel song going. So I bet there was, at the time, you'd have a bit of a culture clash. And Ed Sullivan, I mean, he didn't want Elvis in the first place, did he? On his TV show, he
not originally, no.
Originally, so he's got him on. He realizes what is it he says on that other one? Thoroughly decent boy,
real decent, fine boy.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And then he's doing that. He really had to eat humble pie, didn't he?
Yeah, he tamed. It wasn't Elvis being tamed by Ed Sullivan. It was the other way around. It was Elvis tamed by Ed Sullivan, wasn't it? Because Ed Sullivan could, in those days, as a TV critic as well, or as a general showbiz writer and critic, a bit like Hedda Hopper and Noella Parsons back in the day.
Yeah,
he could finish careers if he wanted to, couldn't he?
Yeah,
and Elvis won him round, just by being Elvis, Mr. Polite, addressing him as Mr. Sullivan all the time, and stuff like this, and to turn around a name like Sullivan was no mean feat, and that's why I've gone for that one, because I thought, as well as it being iconic, New York, Ed Sullivan, that everyone knows, it wasn't the Ed Sullivan Theatre back then; it was called the Maxine Elliott Theatre, but it's now the Ed Sullivan Theatre.
Yeah.
And having been there myself,
and
seen a couple of shows, a couple of Letterman shows there, you're thinking, whoa, Elvis stood over there.
Absolutely.
And things like that, and that sort of all brings it together. That could have easily have been the number 1 for me, but I'll go with that.
Now I would have to agree that is the iconic Sullivan moment, but it didn't make my chart.
All right.
And I'm going to scandal, shock, horror probe. I didn't have any Sullivan in my top 5.
Okay, all right.
And I wanted to, and it would have been that very one.
Yeah.
It would have been that because it's so off the wall. But to only have 5, I was very careful. I didn't want to go, right, I've got to do Dorsey, I've got to do Sullivan, I've got to do 68, I've got to do. I wanted it to be what it is. So I haven't got an Ed Sullivan appearance in there at all. How bad am I?
Well, a bit like I haven't got something else in my top 5. You could say the same about me.
Yeah.
Because when we're doing these 5s, we have to be ruthless at some point. Otherwise, we're not going to. We're going to do. Oh no, let's do a top 7 this week. Yeah. Let's do a top 9, and otherwise we'll never. So
yeah. I think it.
There are so many good moments elsewhere.
So much.
Yeah.
Because you go, yes. Now, if we sat down and said, is Peace in the Valley on that more important than another performance? But that's not the question, is it? Because it might be, is it more important than him larking about with Milton Berle? It's apples and oranges again, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I started off by doing my favourites.
Yeah.
Top TV moments, and then when you have to make a choice, when you get, because I got it down to I think 9 or 10 in the first attempt. This is when you have to start looking at historical or iconic, and
really
because you have to make a choice.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So there you go.
I think you've got a good one there for. I'll write that one down before I forget. For Peace in the Valley. Very good. And it's funny because just before we started recording today, and we had the technical hitch, I was just playing some odd tracks, and I went to Peace in the Valley studio, and I listened to take 1. And I had quite a moment with that because it was the first go of it. And you go, yeah, and it must have rocked the world, hadn't it? Rocker does gospel.
Indeed, yeah. And like I say, he hadn't even been to the studio and done that at that point in time anyway. So
then the EP sold a squillion.
Absolutely, yeah. Might be the calculated advertising ploy in advance, but if it was, then it works. So
Colonel again, yeah. So nothing much past that. So that's your number 3, Peace in the Valley. Yeah. My number 3. I don't know whether you're going to tell me I've broke the rules. I don't think I have. All right.
Oh, come
Please forgive me. Please forgive me.
I'm just going to plump up the old cushions here and wait for this one. Come on, let's have it.
Right, yeah, that's it. Poor, Right. I have gone 50s again.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, and I don't know how we've got them, but all these TV performances that we've got exist today. There are a squillion other TV shows that he did that were lost.
Yeah,
there's going to be stuff there that we never saw. So I haven't included those that don't exist.
Yeah.
But what I had to go with was something I hadn't seen as a fan till I don't know 10 years ago when it surfaced, and that is the Teenage Dance Party, June 16th, 1956.
Mm-hmm.
Where Elvis comes into the studio. So this is the equivalent of Top of the Pops in America. Yeah. Wink Martindale's the host, who's a bit of a singer himself. And we probably remember the really cheesy Deck of Cards as its main song that I always think of. But he comes in, but he not only comes in looking the best, he's looking knackered, but he's sultry, he's leaning on that jukebox. He comes in with Dewey Phillips, and him and Dewey Phillips are larking about, and Dewey Phillips is so iconic to the Elvis story of playing that, and he's telling the story, oh yeah, we played it on there, and then we had to ring Elvis's mom, and he was at the cinema, and we had to go and fetch him to get him on the radio, and it's all that, but he leaning on that jukebox, twiddling with his rings, knackered, talking about Judy Spreckles and all that. that is my favourite little bit there. WHBQ TV dance party.
Did that go out? That only went out on local television, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. That's the great one.
Yeah.
So this is literally a walk in.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
this isn't you're going to come on and do 3 songs. This is I've come home. Dewey Phillips has said, let's go and have a word with him. Lean on the jukebox for 5 minutes. Tell him about the door prize at the next gig.
Yeah,
We're off again. And those are the bits for me, because we didn't have a top of the pop. We didn't have him on Top of the Pops. We didn't have him on Ready Steady Go. But how many of these TV performances are lost? But I just think, as a 50s Elvis, he never looked greater. He never looked cooler than that.
Yeah, it literally was just a sort, let's pop in here on our way to the pub type of thing. I know that wasn't the case, but yes, indeed, it was. It literally was like that. And there's a couple of questions that arise from that show for me, and I want to know who got that ring as a door prize at that future gig that they were going to do, because we've never heard about that. And if so, how much do you want for it? And the other one,
somebody winning that in '56 from some
good Lord,
teeny pop heartthrob, and then they just chuck it in the bin because I won it off the telly. It's a bit of rubbish.
Somebody must have that. Somebody must have that somewhere. And the other one, the other question that was always intrigued me about this clip is what's Wink short for? I christened this baby Wink. Come on.
Yeah. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no more. Your wife likes sport. Got any pictures? Yeah.
So that's. I'm sorry to make such a flippant remark on your number 3, but
no, that's really good.
I
we've gone
wondered.
into the nudge, nudge, wink, wink sketch that we heard was Elvis's favourite Monty Python sketch at one point, didn't we?
So we believe, yes.
Oh, no, but I think that is so good as a TV moment.
Yeah, it is very good.
So it bumped a musical entry out, but I just did go for iconic then.
Mm-hmm. And was it only 10 or 12 years ago that came out? I thought we'd seen it long before then, but I could be wrong.
It might be. I'm getting old now. 20 years, 21. It probably is, isn't it? Because it's going to be back at. It wasn't around in the 80s when it wasn't one of those clips that you saw.
And the quality
of time.
And the quality of it is very, very good as well, isn't it?
Well, this is the
whole thing. It's actually better than the national broadcast that we've been talking about in the 50s.
Yeah, but this is the whole thing with the 50s stuff. I love the whole thing over here of the BBC trying to sort of get back stuff they wiped.
Yeah.
But if you are a tin pot little studio and you want to reuse tape, then but these are the kinescopes. This is the whole different technology, but it's big money. But you can see why the Hayrides would have been out, live, done, gone, history. Do it again next week.
Yes, yeah.
So my number 3, Teenage Dance Party, WHBQ TV, and obviously WHBQ jingles and all sorts are out there. And if you put that into YouTube as well, you get some other clips from that TV show, not Elvis, but it is your American Bandstand but local.
Marvelous stuff like that one.
Good stuff.
Excellent. Okay, right.
Now, I'm just going to interrupt proceedings here on Talking Elvis to let you know that every Wednesday on Cam FM, you can listen to Elvis in Cambridge with myself, Ian Gray, and his self, Vince Wright. We're on at 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. USA East Coast time, and 9 a.m. Alaskan time. You can also get us 24 hours a day via the catch-up service on www.camfm.co.uk. But whatever time it is that you're listening, you can guarantee one thing.
It's hammer time.
It's Elvis time.
Well, I was close.
Moving on. Number 2. Now, this one, for me, may not be everybody's favourite. It won't be everybody's favourite. But I would like to say to the ETAs of this world, look at how this song in this show is performed and just forget it. This is... I'm going to go to CBS 1977 television
Let me guess.
special.
Can I guess the song? The song?
Go on.
Hurt.
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
Elvis's rendition of My Way from the 77 concert that we saw on CBS television, because I was looking at this yesterday, and I saw it, and I didn't once see Elvis go, "And did it, my away." He just he just did
Very
it
good.
straight in his brilliant, in his fantastic voice that he had in that moment.
Yeah. Now, is this iconic for you? Because they put it out as a single after, and everybody went, "Oh, he knew he was going to die." And you go, "Yeah, but he
Nah.
recorded it in '73 as well." So
No,
explain
not
that.
no, not. I didn't see it, and as an I sort of saw it as an iconic moment because it demonstrated to me that the strength of Elvis's voice and how he could deliver a song. But to be honest with you, it was a favourite performance of that song for me. I mean, he did a very good version of it in 1973 on Aloha.
Yeah.
But this one, it was strong. I mean, he started out by saying, "Well, I'm not sure about the words, so I'm going to read it if you don't mind." But yeah, he read the first couple of lines and he threw his bit of paper away.
Yeah.
It just all came back to him.
But I mean,
And
isn't that one of those songs that we could come out of any boozer and pretty much know most of the words, don't we?
yeah, pretty much.
You
Pretty
do, don't
much,
you?
yeah. But I think the performance of it was breathtaking. To be quite honest with you,
I think comparing it to the Aloha or even the Rare Studio version, it's got more feeling because it is that sort of like on Are You Lonesome Tonight when he goes, I am and I was, it's that they've opened the door into him just for a minute of like you're getting behind the mask.
Yeah.
I think that's a good call.
And he did show a bit of raw emotion when he was singing the song as well. It was something that
it really is.
And he could put over a very, very good delivery. And to be honest with you, given we know the state of his mind at the time, we know the state of his health at the time, we know he was taking drugs at the time, and all this sort of thing that was going on in his life, and yet he delivered a performance like that, which wasn't the "Don't Be Cruel," the All Shook Up, and all that sort of throwaway performance that we saw in the
100 mile an hour version.
Yeah, exactly. Does, This was a calculated and raw emotional performance, and I think it's amazing to see. And like I said, my first thought was, I've never seen an ETA do it like this, And
that's why I said hurt, because the same, this is that thing where for exactly the same reasons there you go, you can't do it. Everybody, I sing along with Hurt in the car. I should be arrested.
So yeah, he sung it straight and he sung it beautifully, and that's I'm putting it down as an iconic moment. I'm also putting it down as a favourite moment, and it's my bat and ball. I'm gonna play with it.
No, but it's right, and it became so iconic because I say it was the post Wonder Review, the post. Let me get me things. The post Way Down single, and the trailer to This Is Elvis. Was that with all the snippets, so it really has become super iconic as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Good call.
Absolutely. There you go.
Yeah. Now, I haven't got anything from Elvis in concert in the top 5 again, which is not by choice, because my one that I had, which was just outside of me top 5, was going to be Hurt, right? But because he says hi to Ginger at the start, and then he tells her to sit down, that's enough for you. And I thought that was an iconic one, but that's like my number 6. So I didn't end up with any in concert on it.
Well, I remember, we sat and watched that, didn't we, the night before we went to Denmark, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. And I recommend, if you've got a copy of that, go and watch it. Doesn't matter whether he's fat and 40.
Yeah.
The performance and his voice is great. So go and watch it. I don't care. Go and watch it. I love it.
And I've never understood with that show who decided that Unchained Melody was not in the finished version.
Yeah, because we had it on Moody Blue, which is his last album. So
and the versions on there. Oh yeah. So and that's still the argument of, Elvis was rubbish by the 70s, and you're going, hang on, listen to that.
Exactly.
Excellent. So that's your number 2.
Indeed.
Is My Way, right? I am going to go for my number 2. And my number 2 is the only one in this list that I think really is a predictable. I think it's an absolute bang-on predictable one. And I'm going for the 68 special. I'm going for If I Can Dream.
White suit.
Yeah. Message song.
Yeah.
I mean, if he'd have sung In the Ghetto in that show as well, it would have exploded. But it's a message song. It's 68. It's the comeback, but he's done all the rocking, in the round bit, and we've had some great stuff there. We've had some blues, and then you come out, and it's, for me, If I Can Dream should be the go-to song of the nation instead of Imagine. Everybody always goes, oh, John Lennon's Imagine. I think we should, If I Can Dream should have been the anthem for the Olympics. It should have been for everything. But that version, and he's does all those different takes, and he's waving his arms around, and he's knackered at the end, and you just go in, he means it. He absolutely means it.
It is a song full of passion, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is, a belting delivery. I wrote that down. Of course, anybody who's doing a list like this would write that down.
Yeah.
And it almost made the cut.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it was number 1 on my original write it down. It was straight. Yeah. It's got to be. And then it went out, and then it came back in again. And I say it's the no shame. It's predictable, but it's too powerful for me to have let go.
Yeah, well, yeah, and why not? I was going to put it on. I really was going to put it in, possibly instead of My Way, possibly at number 1 as well. I mean, I've gone for something completely different, but
and I think it is just that version. I mean, I know we've had RPO, Touch It, and Live, and this, that, and the other, but that one for me, number 2. 68 special, If I Can Dream.
I did enjoy on the box set that we bought a few years ago that they combined that in one of the outtakes, didn't they, with these Black Suit performance as well.
Oh yes,
that was quite good actually. I was
on the
really
DVD version.
Yeah. It's it probably takes a little bit away from the iconography of the White Suit performance, but it was a nice little thing that they did, and the vocal was the same. So yeah, good show.
And you know when we had the revamp round the cinema. Now that was
on a big screen. Wow,
big screen one round the cinema. When we saw that one was a bit of there's something in my eye. Yes, I'm filling up. Yes.
It was a moment, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Elvis I'm even thinking now I've done it wrong by doing it as number 2. I may have to have nudged it up. Not sure. No, I'm still sticking with my true number 1. So that's it. If I Can Dream, number 2. Like it or lump it.
Surprising that we both didn't choose it as number 1, to be quite honest with you.
I actually thought it was going to be when I said that. Yeah. So I have no idea what you're going to put as number 1.
Which is good. That's the way these things go.
So are we both up for a number 1 now then?
All right.
Do you think you know mine?
Possibly.
All right. I haven't got a clue of yours.
Talk about the good times with Talking Elvis.
So are you going to go for it?
Let's go for it. Well, I'm going back to the Dorsey Brothers show, but it's not the first appearance. Not the first appearance. We're going to March the 17th appearance on the Dorsey Brothers stage show. March 17th, 1956. I think that was probably about his 3rd or maybe even 4th appearance. I can't remember. I haven't got the notes somewhere. But it's his performance of Heartbreak Hotel during that show. There's no orchestral accompaniment with it as there was in previous. Yeah. But this one on March the 17th, 1956 was just Heartbreak Hotel. It was accompanied by Scotty Bill and DJ, of course. And this is where Elvisness comes into being on the national television, as far as I'm concerned, because if you look at the expressions on his face, if you look at his body movements, everything, the shaky leg and all this sort of stuff, that is a typical Elvis performance which you see in the pictures, in the still picture. That one performance said to me, right, that is where Elvisness or whatever you call it, first started. That is the image of the shaky leg and the curling lip. To me, and I've just seen it on the bottom of me. Actually, it was his 5th appearance on the Dorsey Brothers.
So why do you think that is? Are you saying he was tame in other?
No, not at all. But he was smooth. He'd ironed out the kinks, if you like.
Yeah.
And I think he looks supremely confident.
Oh right, so it's the point where he's hit the big time.
I think where he's got it. He's got the act spot on.
Yeah.
If it is an act.
That's it. Yeah.
It is that moment in time where he's been practicing for the 2 or 3 shows before that. And he's been put. Don't get me wrong. Those previous performances, especially that first one, outstanding, wonderful, brilliant. But it's raw. It's untested in that sort of situation.
So is it polished
to the nation? It is polished. Yes,
polished, isn't it?
I think this is the moment. Right. Yes, I think this is the moment he got it spot on. And so that's
this
why.
This is it. So the whole. Son, you're basically driving your own car to Texas, getting out, doing a gig, jumping back in the car and driving again. Yeah. By the time you're getting, hang on, I've got a bit of dosh here, I've got money, I've got people, that's it, polished. I like the idea of that.
He's perfected his audience there.
So it's Elvis PLC.
Yeah,
he's up and running in the nicest way.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So that's why, and because I went through a few of the Dorsey recordings, and I saw the same performances of Heartbreak Hotel, and I saw the same performances of whatever, and this is the one that stood out to me, and I thought that looks slick. That just looks the best of the bunch, to be honest with you. And then you start comparing it with other performances done on other shows or whatever. I think no, that's the one that stands up for me, and I absolutely love it. And I watched it more than once, if I'm quite honest with you. And and if I'm doing that, then it's saying to me that is up there with my favourite. So I've made it the number 1 because it's iconic Elvis in the beginning.
I'm impressed with that. You've told me straight on that one. So everything I say now is wrong.
It's not for everybody. There are probably better performances of this, that, and the other. But I'm going for that one. That's.
But it's funny again that we've run along parallel. I like this. Do you want my number 1?
Go on. I think I might have a guess. Go on.
You gonna have a guess?
Is it the first appearance on the Dorsey Brothers show?
Yes.
Is it really? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So January 28th for me.
Yeah. I did write that down. So that was just
not the whole performance, because I can't have that as the not kind of the whole show. I mean, I'm not including the June Tyler dancers and and all the other bits. Yeah. But this is first national television. So he's done little, the Louisiana Hayride stuff, and he's appeared on little other bits and pieces, and he comes on here. But the bit is Bill Randall comes on at the start. So Bill Randall's, big rock and roll DJ, who comes and then tells us that he's seen Elvis while he was making movie short. This is talking about this Pied Piper of Cleveland that not one frame of film has ever turned up of. That it's my favorite wannabe story about Elvis in the mythology of Elvis is this. They filmed around the schools, pre-56, filming Elvis there. So then Elvis, who is just like you've said here, you've just said he was the slickest by number 5. That's wonderful, because for me it's the opposite of this. His hair isn't dark enough. He's still a bit wild. You could see the band are Elvis, Scotty and Bill. It isn't I'm better than you are. It's a band, isn't it? And this Bill Randall comes on and does it. And then what do they do as a song? They go and do Shake, Rattle and Roll, Flip, Flop and Fly. So they're doing the previous year's Big Joe Turner hit and the follow-up single and mashing them together. So it's like anybody going on about did Elvis nick the black man's music and all that stuff. It is tribute. It is homage. It is everything. And that for me, that intro and then Shake, Rattle and Roll is the best TV moment of Elvis in the history of the universe ever. Full stop. Treble underline.
Well, that's it for this
TVG.
week. Thank you very much for joining us. No, it is 100%. It is 100% raw energy in that performance.
It is, and now you said it, I want to watch the first and the fifth appearance. Next to each other, because I really want to see that transformation. And if you think this is it, this is from the small time to national telly to hopefully having made this film, which we're never going to see, and then kicking off the career like that. Oh, amazing.
There's no right answer or wrong answer to either of these number ones. It's just a difference of opinion, but they both are valid.
Yeah,
they really are, because, like you say, it's the first time Elvis exploded onto the screens. People wanted to hang him from the nearest tree because he said, "I don't care if I die." On live, I don't know if it was live television, but on national television, in 1956, and stuff like this. And it's just, it's like when you look at it and you go, when we watch these documentaries and we see that first performance of Shake, Rattle and Roll, and we go, yeah, that's brilliant. But when you think about it a bit more and think that's his first time he's been available to the national audience, a lot of people will probably not even have heard of Elvis Presley at that point.
And still people have heard him, haven't seen him play, so they probably think he's a black fella.
Every chance, yeah.
Yeah. So it's that whole, the world's changing, this multicultural bit of allowing him on the telly to sing a big, where was Big Joe Turner when on the telly? They didn't have him on to do it.
Yeah.
And he's doing this song. It was the Colonel with that using TV again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He, like we said with Sinatra, used it at the right time. He knew when it was right for Elvis. Bang, hit record, get him on the telly, make a movie. Bang, bang, bang. 68 special, bit of a lull, get him on the telly. Right.
No, excellent choice. That really is, and iconic ain't the word for this. I don't know what the word for it is, but it's not iconic. It's something a lot grander than that. To be quite honest with you.
Have you got a lot of also rans?
Certainly got another half a dozen. Yeah, won't go through all of them, but certainly.
I think that the key ones that never made it for me. What's your thoughts on the 1974 Easter TV special?
The one that didn't happen.
The one that didn't happen. Yeah, I love that on the sleeve of "I've Got a Thing About Your Baby." Yeah. There's coming soon.
Yes, yeah. That would have been a studio-based sort of show, Andy Williams type of fluffy jumper type of show, wouldn't it? I suppose.
That's the thing.
I don't know.
It's one of those. It's another bit of the mythology, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some people say they were going to show Aloha again at Easter, and somebody got the wrong end of the stick. And others are saying, there's going to do it, and you just, it's another one where you just hope that, blimey, what if? Yeah. But that would have been a lovely one to put in here. I think it's interesting that what was on where Elvis would have appeared on telly as well. There's some of these interviews and press conferences might have been in the news. Some of it would have been used real early on. After that, it would have been telly. There's little snippets of Elvis is coming to town. We'll talk to the fans queuing up for the tickets, but no Elvis involvement. But it's lovely to see the venue set up for Elvis. Those are good. Do you think we should have included Ranch Roundup as an iconic moment from the Steve Allen show?
I watched the whole of the Steve Allen show in this research, and I'm thinking, crikey, this bloke is just trying to humiliate Elvis all the way through it.
You'd have thought he'd take a swipe at him, wouldn't you?
I know there was no when Elvis first came out in a tuxedo and they were chatting for the first few minutes. There was no repartee. There was no spark. This is Elvis going, the f*** you. That's like it really was. There was nothing there. There was no relationship there whatsoever, was there?
But it seems a particularly bad Steve Allen episode because he's he's a better comedian than that.
Yeah.
So there must have been, I don't want this kid. We've paid him a squillion, and we're going to just take the mickey. But what I think is interesting that night, he was on telly there for that show at prime time.
Yeah.
But later in the evening, he was on telly again.
He was. Yeah. Was that the High Gardener?
Yeah,
Interview?
the High Gardener calling.
Yeah.
Now that one was in my list for ages. That was in my top 5.
That was on the one for me that didn't quite make it.
Yeah. Because there he's talking about it, and you can see he's not showing the resentment straight out, but there's enough there, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, apparently he bitched about it for quite a long time after that, didn't he? So, and rightly so. It's like this is talking to a basset hound, talking, doing a the old roundup thing, and the roundup thing could have been better and more enjoyable had he not had to go through the tuxedo and the dog thing in the first place.
Yeah. But like you say, the Milton Berle comedy skit worked. When he comes out here and go, well, I got a horse and I got a gun. He doesn't want to be there, does he?
No, he doesn't at all.
Yeah.
No, it's very.
I think that one,
very, that was a cue card performance, wasn't it?
That really did miss the point. And others on. Have you got any others on?
Yeah. I'm going to go the second Milton Berle show, because that was the one where he did the iconic hound dog performance, which with
the reprieve at the end,
which enraged everybody. With all the morals came flying to the core there, didn't they? Enraged. So you got that iconic moment as well, which I almost put in. But leading up to that moment, there was a bit just between Elvis and Milton Berle in front of a curtain. There was no backdrop, and they were just chatting. They were horsing around, and you could see Elvis was very, very relaxed and enjoying the company of Milton Berle. Then they bring the beautiful Deborah Paget out on stage.
Oh, yes,
and
she comes out and goes OTT
and gets to start kissing Elvis again and whatnot. And then of course you had that sketch in the record shop before Elvis did the Hound Dog, where they ripped off Milton Berle's clothes. That was August. That was a very, very good also ran for me. I enjoyed both of those shows immensely, I have to say. I
think the record shop one isn't as funny as the Melvyn.
No, it's a bit contrived, of course.
Yeah, it's a bit contrived.
But it was still light-hearted and something. And you can see, obviously the camera focuses on the girls ripping Milton Berle's clothes off, but you can see Elvis in the background smirking or trying not to burst out laughing, which goes to show that he was enjoying it. And he looks supremely relaxed, and that's important to put on there as well.
Any others?
Well, If I Can Dream, it didn't quite make it. There was American Trilogy from the Aloha performance. That was a stunning rendition of that one. That didn't quite make it also as well, because I went for My Way instead. So that's the sort of 1970s one I want. But one more for me from the '68 special. I think it was the second sit-down show when he first came onto the stage, and he did he did Heartbreak Hotel, and it lasted 3 or 4 minutes, and he said at the end of it, that's the worst job I've ever done on a song. And I thought that was pretty good TV moment. They didn't show that originally the first time, but of course.
Well, like I say, that's the thing with that, because we've got a squillion hours of that. I was thinking of that I like the Cock Up with the Christmas song, and No Strap, and
bits and pieces like that. If you have to remember, though, weren't in the original broadcast.
That's the thing. So you got to be careful what you select. I haven't gone for none of the. It had to be on the real thing.
Yes.
I think you just reminded me of the record store in the Milton Berle show. Have you seen a Johnny Ray performance from 57? And he's on a similar sort of show with the same sort of cheesy record shop, and he's doing a song. And I don't exactly know what it's called. Something like "I Flipped and Gone to War with Elvis," and he's in this. And every time he opens a listening booth, you hear a snippet of Elvis, and he's pulling his hair out. And then he hears "Just a Walking in the Rain" by himself, and he smashes the record, which is a 1957. And I like the idea of contemporary stuff, how people were talking about Elvis in TV shows, like would he have been in Corrie? Would they have been talking about him?
Yeah.
And I've never found this, but like when he died, was it iconic enough to be mentioned in Crossroads and Emmerdale or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, what was it in the real life? And I always think that stuff there. And there was this one clip I've seen from a TV show, and it was like a Top of the Pops sort of thing, but the cast sang the hit. So it wasn't about the hit being Elvis. It was, let's sing Heartbreak Hotel because it's the best-selling song of the week. Really low-key thing. And they do this Heartbreak Hotel as if it was the Munsters. It's freaky as anything. But again, it's 56, how they're doing it iconically. And that, the pinnacle of all that, has got to be Bilko with Rock and Roll Rookie.
Oh, Elvin Pelvin.
Yeah. And I watch this space because I want to talk a lot about that very soon.
Okay. All right. I'll need to go and watch that episode then to get myself up to
Yes.
speed on it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's great. I like the thought that Charles Lawton introduced Elvis on the first Ed Sullivan.
Yep.
And who was his wife?
Who was
Elsa
his wife?
Lancaster.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
And where do we know her from? Yoga is as yoga does.
Indeed.
Small world, isn't it?
It really is as well, yeah. And don't forget his first appearance on the Sullivan Show. It was recorded, wasn't it? Because he was on the West Coast filming Love Me Tender, and the show was, of course, broadcast from New York. So a bit of editing going on there in 1956.
So I think that those were the TV shows that were. We have the handful. We know the Dorseys, the Sullivan, Steve Allen, Milton Berle, Sinatra, 68, Aloha, and Elvis in concert.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just hoping other bits will turn up. We were really lucky to get that rare version off the TV show, no visual to it, but the audio from a hayride. I forgot to remember to forget, that was recorded on a silver tone wire recorder. So it had just been sitting in somebody's cupboard. And the quality of that's amazing. But all these 50s things live, well, you know, we'll be lucky if we get a cassette of it, but that'll be as good as it gets.
And, you know, we've got to remember that, you know, we've talked about This Is Elvis before, haven't we? No, we hadn't seen any of this sort of stuff before This Is Elvis came out in 1981, you know. So, you know, no matter what you think of that movie, looking back on it 40 years later, you know, you got to remember that we hadn't seen any of that stuff previous to that. Not in this country anyway. So you know, put it up there as one of your top 10 Elvis films at some point, you folks, because the Elvis on television stuff is fascinating, and I didn't realise. I thought I'd seen most of it, and when I was doing research for this, I saw other things which I thought, hang on a minute, I don't remember that bit, because there is so much out there. So yeah, go and have a look at it. It's brilliant.
I then remember not having any of this footage, and then seeing it at a convention. Mid-80s, late 80s, what would be mid-80s. Yeah. And they're showing it and you got to see this stuff, these kinescopes on it and outtakes from 68 special. And that's what kept me going to the fan club dues. You know, it is, what are they going to show next? What's going to turn up?
Yeah.
And I just hope that the archive people are digging deep and Graceland have got something
We're always
in the pipeline.
We're always hoping that, aren't we? We're always looking for something else.
All good. And I think that's my list well and truly done.
Yeah, great list. Well done.
And I think that's it. So let's have a word from our sponsor.
Hi, guys. What's on the show next week?
Well, good old Grace, I'm glad you asked. Because next week, as this was 19, next week is 20, and it is our season finale. That's what they say on Sky, isn't it? And all that. Yeah, yes, previously.
Yeah, we're coming up to the cup final of the podcasts.
So we're or is this going to be the big cliffhanger ending where me and you have a punch up and you don't know which one of us has survived at the end?
Oh, it'll be like watching the episode of 24 with Jack Bauer. Yeah. We got to watch the next episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So the season finale, and I thought we'd have a little bit of a retrospective. What do you think?
Oh, I like that. That's quite nice because we've both said on occasion, haven't we, that we really enjoyed doing these podcasts, and to go back and have a bit of a reminisce would be quite nice.
I think, you know, we said at the start, we don't know whether this is for, you know, is this just a bit of fun for us an Auntie Flo, or are people actually interested out there in podcast land? And I think we've met a lot of people through this.
Yep.
We've got so I think should we have a trip down memory lane? Maybe I'll get the old harp back out.
Oh yes, that'll be good. Maybe I don't know. I'm probably saying this. We haven't planned to say this at all, but maybe the odd clip here and there might surface.
You're putting my editing software to the test then.
Oh, I am. Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
That means you've only got about 25 hours to get through. So before next week. So
if I'm going into the vaults to do that, be careful what else I might find in the outtakes.
Oh,
be afraid.
And you know what? Unlike Elvis outtakes, where they were found 50 years later in the Kansas salt mines, you won't have to wait that long for the ones that we're going to have.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are so censored that the government have took the tapes away, so we can't play those. Yeah, but the normal ones, I think we can. So episode 20, a retrospective. I like that.
Season finale. That sounds like a really good idea. Let's do that.
So if in the meantime anybody out there's got a favourite clip or a least favourite clip, let us know.
Episode,
yeah. Or we can also look at the future. So what we want to do, and we've got some odds and sods there. We've been busy this week though, haven't we?
We have, yes. Again, we've been gone stateside, haven't we? We've been chatting to our friend Jamie Kay from the Jungle Room podcast.
All praise to the great one.
Hi, guys. This is Jamie Kay from the Jungle Room podcast, and you're listening to Vince Wright and Ian Gray on the Talking Elvis podcast.
Indeed. Yeah, the First Lady of podcasting. And we've had a chat with her, and she's just about to start season 4 of the Jungle Room. She's been off for 2 or 3 weeks, so she's having a bit of a break. So we're all refreshed and ready. And you'll probably hear us popping up on that from time to time. So this... What was it she was doing? She was doing like a video thing for YouTube, wasn't she? So keep a look out for that one.
YouTube channel. Yeah. So we're having some sort of review of the movies and things, with clips and all sorts of niceness.
Yeah, so keep a look out for that. That'll be on. We'll tell you where you can find that when it happens as well. So that's all good fun. And onwards and upwards.
All good on that.
Yeah.
And future topics. Oh yes, we've got some nice stuff on the maybe list, haven't we? So that's good.
Yeah, we've just hit the top. Hit the top of the iceberg, haven't we? Really, in these last 19 episodes. So
that's it. And I've tidied up some of the older interviews we did for the radio, which we might also be able to repurpose. Yes. The souvenir CD will be on sale in a record store near you. Yeah,
probably about the 12th of Never.
Lovely. So
excellent.
See you all next week for episode 20, which is really 20, not 19B, or whatever it was that we went wrong with this one. See you all soon.
Goodbye now.
Find us at www.talkingelvis.co.uk or Facebook or YouTube or Spotify. In fact, any place you get your podcasts.